Howdy, guys. I'm back. I got a video with my lovely mother. Cheesy ass smile there. Say hi.
Howdy.
There we go.
I did it right.
She got it right. I thought she was gonna say hi instead. We had
that talk already.
Yes, we did. But yes, interview time. I know I've gotten a lot of comments on my previous videos about questions that I can't really answer because it's like, well, what did your parents think of this? Or how did your mother deal with that? So I'm like, well, I can't answer that really. So I thought I would just get my mother here to answer questions herself because, I can't speak for a parent because I'm not a parent besides to Dolores and my cats, but they hate me and Dolores can't speak. So, I guess let's just get right into it. Can you please take this seriously?
Sorry.
I'm gonna have to cut this out now.
It's like you think your cats can speak?
No.
Dolores can't speak, but the cats can. Sorry, that's just the way it sounded.
Now I'm gonna have to edit this video, and y'all know how much I hate editing things. Okay, question number 1 that you have to take seriously.
I'll try.
You've had too much to drink.
No, I have not.
As I'm drinking.
Not enough.
Question number 1. What was your first thoughts when I decided to transition in the first place? Female to male, the first transition.
The first time?
Not the detransition, the first transition. The mistake, yes.
It was, no, don't say mistake. First thoughts were, honestly, it's another phase.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, she'll go through this, whatever. It's just a fad,
Because, is that any sort of related to, some of the other issues that I had struggled with before? Because, before when I was growing up, I had issues with, my identity and sexuality and things like that. Because,
You went through a lot of phases.
I did.
Yeah.
When did I come out? I think the first time I came out was when I said I was bisexual, right? That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was early in your teenage years.
Yeah. And
so
then
we went through bisexual,
yeah.
we went through lesbian, we went through
pansexual. I remember that
pansexual, the asexual, which
we're at now.
We're at now.
Yeah. The final consensus.
Yeah, and then before you moved is when you finally said, I think I'm transgender. So it's like, oh, okay. It's like,
yeah.
well, we can try that one.
Yeah. Did you think that anything, the issues that I was having, with my sexuality early on had any sort of effect on me thinking I was transgender or any sort of my, gender identity issues? Or do you think gender and sexuality should be very separate?
No, I think they all kind of, again, this is only my opinion, but I think they all very much go together. I think a lot of kids struggle with trying to figure out who they are, both
especially
sexually and nowadays everything is just so, I don't want to say messed up, but it's just, there is no clear cut, male, female. There's just so much for kids to think about now. So.
I guess now then, what's your thoughts? Because I'd seen this on or I've seen people refer to this term on my video, commenting on my videos a lot, and I had to look up what it was because I wasn't familiar with it. But it's called trans trenders, which, to the best of my knowledge at least, is basically younger kids who see everybody else transitioning, almost like it's a trend.
It's like a hairstyle. It's like, yeah, let's try it for a while and then we'll outgrow it.
What's your thoughts on that? Because a lot of people don't like the term transgenders because, at least I think that they think that it almost not devalues their transition, but basically invalidates their transition, almost like what people think about detransitioners, that well your existence basically invalidates mine because you've detransitioned. Now you're saying that there's no such thing as transition in the first place.
Well,
that's not the case for me, but yeah, for trans trenders, what are your,
whether or not you like the word or not, I do think that there are people that do it just because it's become, I don't want to say popular, but it's become more well known. So
at least I think that at least what I've seen is, and I partially relate to this too, and I don't think I was necessarily transgender because I didn't look at it as like, oh, this seems popular, cool to do, I'm gonna do it. I legitimately thought that it would solve my problems, and which obviously was misguided and mistaken, but like, I do feel like, obviously, like you are saying that there's some kids who, think it's just like, how do you, I guess what I'm saying is, how are parents supposed to try and separate if their kids, if it's just a phase, or if this is something that we legitimately need to look into medically?
Well, I think parents know their kids. I mean, I knew you growing up as far as all the different changes you went through, all the different struggles you had with your sexuality. So for us to go to this stage of being transgender was not such a huge shock, and it wasn't so out of the realm of possibilities that we couldn't say, it's not real. So for you, we really had to stop and think, is this really something that we need to obviously support and explore, or is it just a phase? So yeah, obviously my first thoughts were, it's just another one of her phases. She just wants to try something else. I mean, it's like kind of like changing your hair color. Every week was a different color. You always had to do something different. But the more you talked about it and the more we got into what it was to be transgender, and the more you told me about it,
kind of muddy your thoughts a bit on it? Or?
It didn't muddy my thoughts. It actually clarified a lot of things. It actually made me think more that you were serious, more than just being the, if you want to say, the trender.
Well, I medically transitioned for 1.5 years. I mean, I guess what was your thoughts on that what was your thought process going from, oh, this is probably just a phase, to me talking to you about it, and then legitimately, because I remember you were with me, my very first injection of testosterone, I was in the bathroom with you in your house. That was the very first time I got my prescription. We went back from Weimart. I mean, what was your kind of moment where it clicks like, oh, this is legit? Or at least what we thought was legit. I mean, where was that kind of line?
That part really wasn't where it made me think, oh, this is legit. Although, I mean, obviously, when you get to the point of doing shots,
well, 'cause I rushed into it.
Yeah, and that was another problem, is that there was no thought process on your side, I didn't think. I think you definitely jumped into it, and
You'll have to get into that after this, too.
Yeah. But for me, more realizing that this was 100% you were serious, and realizing that it was a good thing for you was when you moved. When you decided to change locations and change jobs and just completely start over, and you were completely starting over as a new gender. Yeah. To me, it's like, okay, she's serious. He is serious,
Right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I mean, and, crap, what were we going to talk about before? I lost my train of thought. But, yeah, I mean, well, I guess if it's wasn't like medically transitioned, was it just, so it just took like a lot of time for you? And, oh, that's what it was. The whole, where there was no really thought process or time in between. And I know a lot of my subscribers know this about me already, but when I decided to transition, I discovered what transgender was, and then I looked into it, and a couple days later, I was like, yeah, that's me. And I have a problem. Everybody knows that I'm like an extremist. Like, if I don't do baby steps, I go all the way 100%. And when I first discovered transgender, or what it was to be transgender, and I really strongly identified with that, I made an appointment with Planned Parenthood to get my testosterone hormone therapy injections like the next day or two after I had decided that I was transgender. Which,
regardless of my suggestion of waiting and researching and
which I know
thinking.
And I preach to everybody about, and especially since I've been through it, but I preach to everybody about, if you're thinking about transitioning, wait. But I mean, I also have to go back and understand that if I would have told myself to wait, I wouldn't have listened anyways, because I was so gung-ho to get it started. I just didn't give it any thought.
Most kids aren't going to listen to what their parents say or what a doctor says. Once somebody has their mind set on something, you're going to do it anyway. But I can look back and kind of say, well, I kind of told you so, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. People have to learn things for themselves. Here, grab her.
And she'll go back.
Okay.
And no, don't do that. She'll climb on the table then. Just,
But yeah, I mean, I wish you would have taken more time to stop and think about it, especially, you know, because you can do a lot of the transgender stuff without getting into the actual medical part of it. You could have done the hair, you could have done the clothes, you could have done the whole name change, you could have done all that to see kind of where you would fit in society with that and how it felt before you jumped into doing anything part of the medical. Because I'm sorry, but the medical part, and I know this is maybe jumping ahead in questions, but it does change things, and a lot of things were changed permanently.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily for a bad thing, but it does change things, and those are things that some of it won't ever really go back.
Yeah.
So if you had waited and you had experienced the lifestyle of living transgender, I think you might have maybe second guessed whether or not you wanted to do the medical part of it.
A lot of time though, because it took me like a year and a half to realize and eventually think, well, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. This is the wrong decision for me. I mean, and I can understand. See, I can understand the benefits of waiting and really making sure that you're 100% positive now. But I mean, back when I was trans, I mean, I wouldn't call it dysphoric. But I wanted so badly to be masculine and to really be passable that taking testosterone and dropping my voice and getting facial hair, I mean, I wanted that so badly, and I can really understand people who are transgender, or at least identify as transgender, would want that, because, I mean, I didn't want to wait. I wanted to get on testosterone and get those changes as soon as possible.
That's what I'm saying. So
it's hard.
As a parent, you can talk till you're blue in the face to your kids and say, don't do this, you need to wait. And they're probably not going to wait. So then the next step is just being supportive, trying to make sure that they're doing everything as safely as possible as far as taking injections and where they go to get their medicine.
I say, what would you say to parents who are struggling with that? Like, where the line is as a parent to, like, supporting your kid and trying to, you know, support them with whatever they want to do, but also not wanting to encourage something that might not be necessarily right. I mean, especially
that's a very, very personal thing for each parent. So I can't speak for any other parent. But for me, I thought it was better to be supportive than to risk alienating you, because it was already kind of a little bit stressful. It was different for the family. It did take some time to accept and really grasp what you were doing. I mean, the hardest part for me especially, was the name change and the gender change. So identifying you as male and saying he, and calling you Maverick, or, you know, we've gone through a couple different name changes. Mm-hmm. So that was difficult.
I guess that leads into my next question. What was the hardest part about all of my transition for you?
I think that really...
Pronouns and everything.
Yeah, and I felt really bad because we'd go out to dinner and somebody'd ask a question and I'd say, oh yeah, she like this, and you look like a guy. And I'm like, wait, sorry, he. And then the waitress is kind of looking at me like I'm crazy. So I felt bad about that. But it's hard. I mean, for 19 years, you were my daughter.
Yeah.
And then to have to change over for that, it was hard. But as a parent, I think one of the biggest things that you can do for your child, personally, is support, love, and be as accepting as you can. I don't necessarily 100% understand the whole transgender world, but I know that it's what you wanted, and it's what, I guess I want to say, it made you happy, and it was a way for you to figure out if that's really what, in your words, fixed your problems.
Which obviously was wrong for me, and I've made videos about why transitioning was wrong, because I transitioned for the wrong reasons, and those are in my channel too if you guys want to check that out.
But back to that comment too, I don't think it was wrong.
What, my transition?
Yeah, I don't think it was a mistake. That's an interesting
perspective then, because I've detransitioned now, and I think that my transition for me personally was misguided.
Right, but the experience.
I think
you have learned so much, and I think you have grown so much as a person because of this experience. Whether or not it was the right thing to do, I still think anything we do in life, you can take it to be an experience and learn from. And I think it's totally changed you as a person for the better.
I mean, it's kind of bittersweet because, I agree with that. And I mean, I don't know what kind of a person I would be without. But yeah, and I don't know what kind of a person I would be if I hadn't gone through all this and learned kind of, because I mean, I do feel like I had gotten like a perspective or at least a glimpse on the other side of things about, you know, kind of like what men have to deal with and like a lot of their struggles. I know I don't know everything because I only spent a year and a half as a guy, so I'm not going to pretend to understand men completely. I'm not saying that. But I mean, I feel like I have definitely a different perspective now that I did, but it also does come with a lot of like changes that I don't necessarily like now. And I got her. But I mean, obviously I have like
the voice. I mean, that's
voice,
something.
which I've come to terms with. I don't hate it anymore. I didn't like it at first. I definitely, although it was a lot deeper at first. Like my first video was a lot different. But I've come to terms with it, and I know it makes me more unique now to have a really deep voice. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I'd say that like I don't regret the experience, but I don't know how I feel about some of the permanent changes and
And as a parent, again, that's also hard to watch your child go through something that in the back of your mind you're telling yourself, this isn't right, this isn't going to help, this is, you know, because I knew you had told me what some of the changes were going to be with the hormone shots, and I'm like, really, do we want to do that? There was one point that you were meeting with a surgeon to have top surgery, and I'm like, oh God, please wait, just wait, you know, give it a couple years before you are 100% sure. I said, if that's really what you want to do, great, but let's wait because that's such a permanent change. So I am glad that you waited on that. But again, if you had decided to do it, I would have totally supported you. And for some people, like you said, if that's really the way they want to go and deep down in their soul, that's how they feel, more power to them. But I do think that there is a nice waiting time that everybody should go through.
To really make sure that that's what you want.
Yeah, because I think like you said, you thought it was solving some issues or
the first year was great.
Things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think you were happier, honestly.
Well, because I didn't, like, I kind of had shoved all the issues that I had been dealing with before when I, you know, because I had just struggled. She's gonna, yeah, you guys know that we can't keep her on my channel for very long.
Sure.
Take her, Tori.
Oh.
Please don't drop her. Okay. But,
yeah,
I mean, yes, the majority, I mean, I've talked about how I kind of had confused my issues with asexuality and not being happy with that, essentially, with thinking that maybe transitioning into a different gender would kind of help alleviate some of my issues. And when I had transitioned, I was happier because when I was a guy, I didn't have to deal with the problems of being asexual because I wasn't dating. And it just wasn't quite the same. I didn't really have to deal with, you know, because getting hit on, you know, as like, or catcalled, I mean, had made me a little bit uncomfortable because, yes, I mean, I don't really like that kind of stuff, especially since I'm asexual. And then, you know, people ask me, like, oh, to date, and then there's all these social pressures, you know, to, like,
yeah, like when I'm going to get grandkids.
Yeah, I mean, and there's all that kind of stuff. And when I was a guy, I didn't really feel as pressured to do that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I was happier because all of those issues, they didn't go away. I had just shoved them to the side because when I was living as a guy, they just weren't in the spotlight anymore. But part of the reason why I detransitioned is because I kept getting glimpses of those issues because they hadn't gone away. They were just not in the forefront anymore. So yeah, transitioning for the right reasons I think is very important because it doesn't fix if dysphoria is not your issue, those issues are not going to go away. They will just be shoved to the side. So deal with those before you transition, and then if it's still something you want to do, then all the power to you.
Mm-hmm.
But next question. What helped you remember to say the right things? Like, was there any, like, sort of routine you had, like, to try and help you get used to saying something different? Or was it kind of
as far as, like, your name?
For names, pronouns.
Well, I had to change, like, obviously I've changed the name in my phone.
So you just changed everything over?
There's not a lot to change, but
yeah.
Name. And then just family in general, we would just kind of always correct each other.
So keeping kind of each other in check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and after a while, it honestly just becomes somewhat normal.
Mm-hmm.
And now, with you detransitioning, I'm actually having more of an issue going back to female.
Yeah.
Although you look, obviously, very female.
Yeah, but I mean, I can understand. It's almost like transitioning again.
Yeah, when I talk to people now at work, instead of, a lot of times, how are your kids? Oh, Tori's fine, but my son, it's like, wait, no, my daughter. You know, I get a lot of funny looks from people because they're like, do you not know what kids you have? Like,
Right.
It's very complicated.
Yeah.
No, it gets easier. If you make an honest effort, it's not hard. If you don't make an effort, then I think that also is kind of a little bit of a sign that you're not being very accepting.
If you're not as willing to.
Yeah, if you're not going
change.
to try to change it, then obviously you're not being very supportive.
Yeah, I mean, I won't name names, but I mean, I know I personally had some issues with certain family members who, you know, at first, towards the beginning of my transition, when I was identifying as a guy, you know, I had met up with a certain family member, and I'm not going to name names, obviously, but, and then it was kind of like, yes, I understand you're doing this, but you'll always be the old you to me. And I was like, oh, well, thanks. But, and that certain person also had a lot of trouble.
That's an honest thought, though.
Saying, I know, and I appreciate the honesty, because if you don't agree with something, please just tell me so I'm not blindsided when it obviously is going to come up later.
I mean, I can honestly say you fully transitioned as a guy.
Mm-hmm.
You were still always my daughter.
And I can understand that. It's just, I probably said that wrong. The way it was said was more like, okay, you're that, but I'm not going to call you that because you're not that to me.
Oh.
It was more like, I don't agree with this, so I'm not going to call you these things. And that person also, I think, didn't you say that you had to correct them constantly?
Well, like I said, we kept each other in check, so that's, you know.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I'm using this to lead into how did you deal with kind of issues with either coworkers or other family members? Everybody
was very accepting. All my coworkers were very accepting. In fact, a lot of them found it very fascinating and asked me a lot of questions.
Did you feel any sort of anxiety about telling people and how they would think, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, because you don't know how people are going to react. There's so many people that are not on board or don't believe in or have very strong opinions. So yeah, there was a few times, especially male coworkers, that, you know, would ask me about my kids, and I, you know, found the courage to say, oh yeah, well, you know, Tori's doing this, and I said, and you know, my daughter is now my son. And, you know, I don't think I ever had anybody go, oh, really? Everybody was like, oh, well, how's that working out? And I'm like, he's very happy, you know, things are going great, got a great job, moving up in the world, so, and everybody has always said, you know, whatever makes them happy, that's what you do. So.
So you said, did it probably get easier telling people after you just told more and more?
Yeah, the hardest part was the first one. The first
person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. After that, it does get easier, and then it actually just became again the norm.
Cool.
So, in fact, I had a lot of people when I talk about you as my son, they go, "I thought you had 2 girls. You have 3 kids?"
I remember when I first transitioned, and I was thinking about transitioning. I joked about it, and I was like, "Well, just tell them that I died and I adopted a new person."
I have a twin. Yeah, I had twins at one
secret
point.
twin that we just you kept me in the basement. Nobody knows about me.
Yeah, you're my adopted son. Whatever.
Yeah, right. Did you ever miss who I was before while I was transitioned?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, like I said, 19 years of having a daughter. After a while, you know, there's sometimes when you miss it.
Mm.
You know, some of the girl talks we'd have, it was different. We still had great talks. In fact, I think we have better talks now. I think we're a lot more open with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there was obviously almost like a mourning. I mean, it's almost a little bit like I lost a child.
And gained.
You know, obviously I gained.
Sort of.
But yeah, to have, especially when you were so dead set on it and then you moved and all this stuff, it was just like almost a little bit devastating.
I feel kind of bad too, because when I transitioned first or decided to, I told you, I think like a week before I decided to move. Like I do feel bad about that. That was a dick move. I didn't really give you any time to adjust. I just said, hey, I'm moving like hours and hours away from any and all people I know, and also I'm becoming a different person and you have no time to adjust.
But what did I do?
Left.
I helped you move.
Yes, and but you also said that you didn't really expect me to stay in Spokane.
I would have been a little
skeptical.
surprised. I was very skeptical. Yeah,
that
because
I was actually gonna move.
To move and be completely on your own. Yeah. Because when you moved out of our house and into your own apartment the first time, we still helped you.
Yeah.
You know, still made you dinner, and I came and helped you clean the house.
Decided to move. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very proud
I've
of
been
you.
up here for 2 years now.
Yep, and I'm very proud
on
of you.
my own. Thank you. Let me see.
But I did help you.
She
I wasn't
did help
mad
me.
at you, I
Yes,
helped.
she did help me. Here's a question that you can pass on if you want to. I won't make you answer it, but this is just ones that I've seen. Did you ever struggle with prioritizing your religion but still being an accepted and loving parent?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the religion part, so.
Okay. What were your thoughts on when I detransitioned? Like, first immediate thought. Was it more of an I told you so, or it was like a ugh? Or
it was actually honestly a little bit of both. It was kind of
was it relief or
not relief. It was, gosh, it's so strange to think about those emotions.
when I first called you and I was like, I think I fucked up big time.
Yeah, and
I'm
it
not
wasn't
transgender.
it wasn't a, yeah, I told you so. And it wasn't a, gosh dang it, now we got to go through this whole thing again. I almost felt bad for you in a way, because I think you felt so strongly about what you were doing. It was just like, okay, this didn't work. So, you know, you were so happy doing it, and now we're going back. Are we going to have to go through the whole emotional part of it? Are you going to be upset? Are you going to be depressed? Are you going to be okay going back to being female? So I was kind of more concerned.
Hold on, keep talking.
But again, supportive. It's like, whatever you want to do, we'll do it. I will be honest and say it was a little tiny bit of relief.
Be completely 100% honest. This is for other parents who are struggling, so they need.
Well, yeah, it was a relief,
honesty.
a small part of me. Like I said, I wanted you to be happy, and I do think that for you, transitioning did make you somewhat happier. But it was a little bit of a, I get my daughter back. You know, maybe we can go back to the, you know, female name and just kind of go back to be. Yeah.
Gotten so used to.
Yeah.
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 Let me see. Do you think I'm happier as a guy or as a girl? As a whole.
As a whole, now I think you're happier as a girl.
Mm-hmm.
During the transitioning, though, I think you were happier as a guy compared to how you were as a female before you transitioned.
See, and I agree with that. I think it's kind of. I think I went through a bad, good, and better. Because before I had transitioned at all, I wasn't really in a good place, and that's why I wanted to transition at all. So I wasn't really happy as I was, and then I transitioned, and it got pretty good. And now I think that as I've detransitioned and kind of gotten back to how things are, I think I am better.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of peaked.
You were extremely antisocial.
Oh, I didn't want to do anything
before
with
you
anybody.
transitioned. You sat in your room all the time. You never went out and did anything. You didn't talk to anybody. So yeah, you just weren't a happy person. And then you transitioned, and I think you became extremely outgoing. You started talking to people. You started going out and doing things.
It felt easier.
It felt easier, yeah, because I think is almost a little bit like a costume.
It felt like I was putting on a mask. I felt like, well, I'm this different person now.
That you could be somebody more open.
I mean, the easiest explanation that I can explain it, and a lot of my gamers out here are going to understand this, is like when I thought I was, okay, I'm going to transition, because I was having so many issues with my identity before. I mean, it's almost like a build your character game, or screen in a game. I mean, I felt like I could pick my character traits and what I looked like, and I mean, I felt like I could just build a new person, and that thought was so appealing to me. And that's also kind of what was so appealing to transitioning, because I thought I could be a completely different person, like a build your character screen in a video game. But obviously, if you're transitioning, you're supposed to be becoming more of yourself. You're not becoming a different person. So, yeah.
And then, of course, detransitioning, I think you went, a little bit back to some of the insecurities, but I think also...
I think I'm a little bit of a mix of both right now.
Yeah, I still think you're much more outgoing, and I still think you're happier than before you transitioned. Mm-hmm. So, I think you're in a good place.
And I've also seen a lot of people commenting, asking, well, what are your thoughts on, like, gender fluid or stuff like that? Like,
what does that mean?
Like, it's like a lot of people, I'm trying, there's like, or agender, there's a bunch of different words for it. I'm not gonna lie, I don't understand a lot of it. But like a lot of people who just don't really identify as a guy or a girl, and some people thought that, oh, well, you're having a lot of issues with your gender, you transitioned, and then you detransitioned, well, maybe you're just a little bit of both, or maybe you're none, whatever.
I don't have an opinion on that.
I know. And so I personally don't identify as anything like that. I do just identify as a girl, boring ass female right now. Just, but I know some
identify as
people
Dolores?
identify as my bearded dragon. Yeah.
You could try that.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a good life. Okay.
I'm sure I can make her disappear.
I should probably wrap this up. That's getting long.
But
we're well over 10 minutes.
I told you it wasn't going to be a short video. Okay, let's go to some of the comments that you guys had on my Instagram.
We'll make them quick.
Yeah.
Do you want to grab it?
Let me pull them up here. There we go. Okay, some comments. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Valcheraria said, did she suggest the boy's name she had in mind before you were born, or did I pick that? I asked you if you had thoughts on what I should change my name to during when I transitioned to, but ultimately I think I decided on something else. But
you did, and I hated it.
I know, yeah, it's okay though.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I did ask your opinion though, and you did have one in mind.
I don't remember what it was.
It was, I don't know, you said something like Austin.
I don't know. I had a couple of boys' names, but
that I just wasn't really, that I didn't really attach to. But, God, Tori, I hate your iPhone. I can't keep it unlocked. God.
You know, you picked your own names.
Yeah.
Do you need help?
I can't get this fucking thing unlocked. I got it. Let me see. Somebody, Macaroso9 said, do you still go by Ryan? If so, why? Before I transitioned and then I detransitioned, because before I had even transitioned at all, I had changed my name to Ryan Ashley Barnes. That was my name.
Legal name.
Legal name. And so when I transitioned, I said, okay, I'm just going to keep it easy. And I'll just drop the Ashley and I'll just go by Ryan, because that was just the easiest thing for me, and I was already used to being called Ryan. But
you did that, and I can see now, back before you transitioned, because I'm sure you probably had this thought in your head that you were sometime going to transition. Yeah. So you picked Ryan because it could go either way gender-wise. It could be male, it could be female.
I mean, back then, when I picked the name, I will say that transitioning was not in my head.
Oh, really?
It wasn't. Like, it was very much this is a thing, I'm going to do that, like, within a week. Of me finding out. It was very, very impulsive. But I've always liked the masculine.
It's named after somebody. A singer.
No. It was
Ashley. A tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the first female ink master. Her name was Ryan Ashley. And
shout out to Ryan Ashley.
Oh, shut up. But, yeah. Because I had always identified with, like, not... well, androgynous names and more masculine names. Before I was thinking about Tony with an I, and then it was Ryan and Ryan Ashley. I know, I was thinking, but I mean, I'm leading in.
Sorry, nobody cares about the names you wanted.
I'm not talking about that. I'm gonna have to cut this out now.
No, you're not.
But
on with the video.
To answer your question, do I still go by Ryan? I do still go by Ryan, but that was mostly because I kept my name for work, because I really didn't want to have to deal with my coworkers trying to say something new again. So I just kept Ryan because I could go by both. And I was still named Ryan when I was a woman. But now that I'm not working, I might be changing my name from Ryan, because now I don't have to deal with coworkers saying the wrong thing, so maybe I might be changing it. But that's why I went by Ryan.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. What were your feelings about me changing my name in the first place?
Well, I hated it.
Yeah.
It's not the name I gave you, for goodness sakes. It was insulting that you didn't like my name.
I liked it just fine.
No, you did not.
No, I did not. Swan Steele says, how does it feel to have such an awesome daughter?
Aww, Tori is pretty cool. You are amazing.
It's like I invited you on my channel.
I know. No, you are. I am
kidding.
very proud of you. I think you've done a lot. And I see the future, and I know there's a lot more good to come.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Somebody, I think we answered this one partially already, but Fallon99 said, did your mother lose friends or family because they didn't accept my situation?
No, absolutely not. And if I had, so be it, and I wouldn't care.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, I mean, that's the way it goes.
Someone just, Triforce Pianist said, when you originally came forward to your mother about your transition to male, how did that go? That one went fine. I mean, like I said, I do things really impulsively and I don't come prepared to anything. But I think we were leaving from Ace Hardware and I was trying to get up the courage, and I just told her, like, I think I want to be a guy in the car as we're going home from Ace Hardware. She came out of
the car. Yeah.
I didn't come out of the closet, I came out of the car.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right.
And I think my reaction was...
Kind of figured.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I think I did say, yeah, I figured.
Yeah, I figured.
Because you'd already cut your hair, you'd already started somewhat dressing a little bit masculine.
I had a buzz cut. I had buzzed all my hair off at that point.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, 'cause I was worried about Dad's opinion, but I was also really worried about yours, too.
Aww.
And more of just, like, an anxiety of, like, what could happen. It's not that I thought that you would, like, not accept me or whatever. It was just a general anxiety of, like this is just so drastically different. But God, Tori.
And I can see that because some kids probably have parents that maybe aren't as accepting. Yeah, so that would be hard. That's why it's so important to be accepting, even if you don't really feel it in your heart, because you don't want to lose that connection with your kids.
Yeah.
You don't want them to not be able to come and talk to you.
Yeah.
And tell you stuff.
Somebody said, Abraham R40. Yeah, I said, I'd just like to know, did she try to avoid any words or phrasing to make me feel more comfortable when talking?
Me?
Yeah, is there anything you avoided saying or trying to say, or?
No, I don't think so.
Just besides saying the wrong thing? Like misgendering, stuff like that?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, obviously the he, she thing was the only thing I really tried. I don't think there was anything else that would have upset you.
Do you have a, R. Mireless27 said, do you have a particular memory about her transition/detransition that comes to mind? Something that stands out.
Nothing that really stands out. I think maybe the first time I saw you after you had moved and had been taking the testosterone. Oh, I think that was it. The first time I talked to you on the phone after your voice really changed. That was a hard one because it was hard for me to think of you with the voice change and then it was like I was talking to a stranger. I knew I was talking to you, but it didn't sound like you.
Because I hadn't called you for a while, and then my voice
it had been
dropped,
a while.
And then I went from, hi, Mom, how can I... And then I was just like, hi, Mom, how can I help? Like,
yeah, and I'm like,
how are you today?
Who in the hell is this?
And I was like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I don't say that word, so...
But, no, really. You've said it a few times in scenarios.
Language.
And, yeah, that was Ryu54's question, too, about what you thought about my voice changing, or... Because we just talked about this, too. Yeah, because I posted on my Instagram a while back, too, like a clip of my old voice, and because I had heard that, and I was like, whoa, and I just showed you that old clip, remember? And
I don't even remember you sounding like that.
Me neither. So just over time, you just gotten used to it.
Of course, yeah. I mean, this is just the norm. It does sound very low for a girl.
It sounds really low for a girl.
It does sound very low for a girl. And it's kind of fun to watch reactions, like when you go to a grocery store or the coffee shop and you order.
Oh my God,
I think once in a while, you watch their face and you order and they kind of go, You're like, okay.
It's the first time I went to Starbucks, too. I got really nervous about it, too, because I went to Starbucks in the drive-thru, and, of course, back when I first detransitioned, my voice was a lot... And I drove up to the drive-thru, they looked like, did you order this? Because I looked like a chick, but my voice was so different, and it just doesn't sound feminine.
Yeah.
But
and it's, even now, it's a little bit hard to, not listen to your voice. Your voice is fine.
Yeah.
But to see you now as female again and to have such a low voice, it's a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little weird.
Yeah. This is a really deep one, but I feel like it's an important one for other people to hear. Damien MDEF said, did you ever feel that either during her transition or detransition you had failed as a mother in some way? And if so, was it hard getting out of that mentality?
I think anything that goes different with your kids, you feel a little bit like you failed. I mean, from you not passing a test or getting in trouble at school or
Yeah.
having a fight with a friend, you feel as a parent that you've done something to, make that happen. But no, I don't think I failed as a parent. I don't feel like I failed as a parent. I think that there's just a lot of things that go on in the human body and the human brain that make people different. And I think I don't want to get into the religion part, but I think we're all created differently and for different reasons. And I think you were made to be who you are. And I think that there's definitely some good things that come out of this, a lot of good things that come out of this. So I don't feel that I've failed as a parent. I think that I've actually done a very good job as far as being supportive. And
I do too.
I
She
take
was
some
very
credit
supportive of me.
in who you have become.
Thanks. I'm trying to figure out an iPhone. I feel like a freaking geriatric, man. I can't unlock this phone. Tori!
Okay, well, maybe we're done with questions then.
Hold on, I got it. I want to make sure that I don't have any that everybody else
Can you put my
didn't.
chicken video on?
Y'all will see, maybe, in a sec.
At the end of the video, there's a cute little clip.
How do you
Isn't
know
there?
it was going to be at the end of the video? Maybe it would have been in the beginning as an intermittent
Okay.
commercial break.
But then we're talking about something they've already seen, so that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, which is why
Now
are
I
you
need to have
talking
to be
about
at
it?
the end.
I told you not to talk about it. Gosh.
Video
dang it.
clip at the end. It's cute.
Oh my word.
Okay, let's be done.
Last question. Is Gahajapoglu. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that.
Yeah, okay.
Did she know that there was also a process called detransition before you've done it? Just curious because there are still some parents that don't even know about transition and whatnot. Take care.
No, the terminologies totally eluded me. I had no idea that there was
I see any of like,
transitioning,
LGBT stuff.
detransitioning. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what asexual means. There's just so many terms.
Do you feel like there's just not a lot of information for?
Yeah,
targeted
I think you
towards
really,
parents?
really. Oh no, not at all. You really have to do your research, and again, the relationship you have with your kids, because I can ask you questions
Yeah.
and say, "What does this mean? How does it affect you? What does it mean in the big scope of things?" And for the most part, you can tell me,
Yeah.
and you can explain it to me maybe a little bit better than a Google search. So, yeah, no, there's a lot of terms that I don't know. Obviously, I've had to learn some. Detransitioning wasn't one. I just figured, you dress like a guy, you dress like a girl. That's what it is. You
Yeah.
just change. So.
Do you think that when people transition, or especially underage, like kids, like people below 18, like when they transition or they're looking into it and they're talking to doctors, that the parents should be involved, like medically, or do you think people should be, yes, also talking like therapy-wise, talking to the kids and making sure that that's really what they want, but do you think that they should also be talking to the parents too, to make sure the parents are also educated on what's going on or what their kids actually want? Because like a lot of people go
that
through
would be
therapy
nice, but
and and they talk to, we're gonna give your child therapy and we're gonna tell them all about this stuff and what their problems mean, but I feel like where does the parent come in?
you don't, because at the age of 13, you now are allowed to go see a counselor or whatever, and I don't even have to be told about it. All I get to do is pay the bill.
Yeah.
So at the age of 13, you have total right to privacy, which in some cases I get, because sometimes the kids will only do things if their parents don't find out. But I don't know, there's such a fine line with that. I really do think parents should be involved.
Or maybe a type of parent therapy, like where there's one for the kid, but there's also one to keep the parent
Oh
educated.
yeah, that would be wonderful if parents would be willing to
'Cause
do
I feel
it.
like so
I don't
many
know if
parents
would
just
do it.
don't know. And then they sound really like, some people sound like really ignorant and saying, oh, well, what is this? All this shit. Because I feel like they legitimately just don't know. Like,
They don't,
just
and there
don't
needs
understand.
to be, God, there needs to be almost like a class
Is it-
that
yeah.
is taught to parents on what transitioning is, what this means for your child, what
It's
you can
this-
expect,
yeah, like this whole
although every
boom.
kid's different.
Yeah.
But still, to learn some of those basic facts, and like I didn't even know what the hormone shots would do to you. I didn't know it was going to physically change bone structure.
I don't think it actually changes bone structure. It changes like muscle and fat
Distribution. Okay,
Yeah.
so but it does at some
It
point make you
changes you.
start to look a little different. I had
Yes.
no idea it was going to affect your voice and in a permanent manner.
Yeah. I didn't either, to be honest.
Knew something about the, getting some facial hair and stuff, but I was a little caught off guard with that one as well.
Mhm.
So there was just a lot of things that, I wish I had known. And part of that is on me, I guess. I could have researched it. But yeah, it'd be nice if there was more information out there and it was just readily available. It just seems like a lot of this is so taboo anymore, nobody wants to talk about it. It's just still kind of a hidden.
Do you feel like
thing.
some people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to seem like they don't know what they're talking about, or seem ignorant or offend somebody by asking questions? Like,
No, I don't think people care about that. I think people are just more worried about what other people think.
Yeah.
Talking about it or asking questions. I think a lot of people are just worried, oh, am I going to be, looked down upon because my child's transgender? Am I going to lose friends over it? Is my family going to accept it? So.
What is your message to people who are worried about that? Like, if you had a parent right now who was saying those things, like, I'm worried what people will think, I don't know how to deal with this.
You had a transgender friend in school, and that kid's parents were not accepting at all. Refused to support him as he was a transgender.
Yeah, trans guy.
Yeah. Made him wear dresses and just not supportive at all. And it messed this child up emotionally so much that I don't even know what happened to him, but I felt so bad.
So if you could talk to his parents, I guess. I mean, in a civil conversation, not like you're doing this wrong.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, obviously that's not any other
advice?
parent's place. I mean, obviously my advice would be, let them do what they need to do. You're making it worse by not being supportive, because again, they ended up having so many issues. The kid ended up running away and being in foster care. I mean, it ended up huge problems. Instead of being supportive, knowing what your child's doing, being involved.
Yeah, I say at least if you're acting supportive, then they'll maybe talk to you about things and you'll be in the know.
Right. You actually invited me to, I think, one of your appointments, didn't you? You even had your counselor call me one time.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I had my counselor talk. She's like, well, do you want to talk to my mom? Because she knows a lot more about all this stuff back in the past than I do. And so, I mean, I
to
feel
be involved
like
in that matter was great.
Yeah, I mean, knowledge is power. I mean, I feel like it's just can't hurt anything by having an open conversation.
Right, but if you and I didn't speak and you didn't think that I was very supportive, that never would have happened.
No, I never would have. I would have moved and I would have completely cut you guys out of my life if I didn't think you guys were supportive.
Right.
I mean, if you guys had been like, no, you're going to hell, this is the devil's work, I would have just left.
Yeah. And even if I had thought that, what would it have helped? So if you have those thoughts, to me, it's better to somewhat kind of keep them inside.
You're welcome to everybody's welcome to their own opinion. It's just apparently you cannot agree with something. And this is also what I completely don't understand about people on the internet nowadays. It's like there's a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree with. Like just for example, I know I'm not hating on any one particular group here, but there's a lot of people who like dress up like furries, and I know furries get a lot of hate. And do I necessarily agree with or think or like a lot of that stuff? No, but I'm not gonna go out on somebody's page and comment on how much I think that their stuff is crap. I mean, I can disagree with something and agree. Don't ask what a furry is, please.
Oh. I was gonna ask. I don't know what a furry is. No. You can tell me later.
I'll explain later. But okay. I can disagree with something and not tell them that I disagree with it, because that's not gonna help anything. I mean, I don't understand.
The only thing I would do would be voice an opinion on whether or not I felt something was safe. If I felt that you were endangering yourself, I would talk to you about it and give an opinion, but not, you can't do that and you shouldn't do that and that's stupid. And
like if somebody has like
I don't think that's right.
Pink shaved eyebrows and a massive mohawk. I mean, they might like it. I might not like that look on me and think it looks maybe a little bit ridiculous, but I'm not going to tell them that, because I can have a negative opinion about something that doesn't mean that I can't be supportive.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to lecture people on how to be socially.
I'm just saying you can disagree with something and still support your friends.
Exactly.
Like a political opinion.
Oh, no politics.
We used to be able to talk about politics, and now we can't anymore.
No politics. Okay.
Ready
for questions?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you. I love you.
No, love you too.
At least you didn't say ditto. It used to always be ditto.
I'm working on it, alright? Shut up.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Okay, so that was it. I hope I got to a lot of your guys' questions. If you have any more, I mean, comment them down below. Maybe later on we'll film like a part 2 if there's like a demand for it. But
everybody's gonna be going, yeah, it's already been an hour and a half. I don't think so.
I don't think it's been an hour and a half. Let's get all the questions out at once. But yeah, anyways, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks. Alrighty. Well,
Do you have a closing thing? And you have howdy. What do you close with?
See you next time.
How do you say howdy backwards?
How?
You know.
You know. This is ridiculous. I'm leaving.
Bloopers.
Howdy guys, I'm back. I got a video for you. I have my lovely mother here to talk with us today. And would you like to say hi?
Hi.
Nope. We say howdy.
Howdy. Sorry, my bad.
Thank you.
Howdy.
Okay. So, yes. And we have Dolores, too. Dolores is gracing us with her presence since we all know that this is her show. Sorry if you can hear that in the background. The noise, but moving on. Anyways,
That wasn't you? Sorry.
Just fucking comedy corner over there. That is part of the English language. Thank you very much. But yes, so we have questions. Sorry, I'm working an iPhone right now. To start talking. At least we'll have bloopers.
I don't know what to say.
You should make a bloopers video. Oh wait, is it still going?
I told you to say something and you stood there just like, I don't know what to say. Like,
You're supposed to ask me questions. I told
you to say something.
You should make a blooper.
It's not improv. You could talk to Dolores for, oh my god.
Howdy, Dolores. How are you, honey?
Ow, fudge.
Much better, thank you.
Okay. Howdy. Yeah.
Howdy.
No, one more time. Okay. Okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Howdy. That was good. Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi guys. I got my mother here for an interview. We're talking about me, because it's my channel.
My
and we have
favorite
Dolores.
topic.
Thank you. I'm sensing some hostility, but we're gonna ignore that one. No.